Okay, so I'm just going to look at getting some different furniture pieces into my Revit file. So I've brought up some of the commonly used sites where you'll find Revit families for furniture. So this is, I think, one of the biggest, which is the Herman Miller website. So just Google Herman Miller Revit and you'll easily find it. And they're one of the, if not the biggest, one of the biggest furniture manufacturers in the world. I think they are the biggest. And, or maybe IKEA actually might be bigger, but they're right up there. Herman Miller. Yep. Herman Miller. Herman, H-E-R-M-A-N. Miller, M-I-L-L-E-R. And so they maybe don't make as much domestic furniture as IKEA do, but they wouldn't be far off. And they do, by far, I'd say, the most office furniture. So workstations and other office furniture is largely done by them. And they also own the rights to a lot of classic furniture designs, like the Eames chairs, but a lot of others as well. So you can see they're cycling through. I'll show you some of the others. So the IKEA site, I think they have a lot of furniture in Revit format as well now. Oh, they don't have families. Okay, I thought they did. So, yeah, RFA, they've got some, yeah. But yeah, you're right, so they might have some that isn't in the right format, and I'll show you how to get those. Okay, so cycling through here, you can see that a lot of these do have RFA files. Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, some of their stuff's good, and then sometimes not so much. But it's always a good price, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, like everyone, I've got tons of IKEA, and then some of it just ends up being recycled very quickly. But the chairs especially, I think their chairs are horrible. And I will never buy an IKEA chair ever again, having bought too many that I've just ended up throwing away because they don't work. Okay, so again, I'm trying to find one that's not in Revit format there. Just go back to chairs and see. Oh, yep, sure, I'll have a look in a sec. So, oops. So let's just see. So yeah, these are all RFA. But anyhow, I'm sure I'll be able to find plenty that aren't RFA in a second. So I just want to show you these sites. So, oh yes, I'm not a robot. So CoLS, I don't really know this one all that well, but it does come up quite a bit. And so you can see here a lot of furniture pieces, and let's just click on something here. Apparently they have Revit files as well. Zenith, another one. Then some sites dedicated to Revit. So what Revit wants has quite a bit. So these aren't just from one manufacturer. These are user-made families. CAD Forum has a lot of Revit furniture, pretty well categorised as well. Oh no, sorry. Okay, so I'm thinking of not CAD Forum. What's the other one? So there's another one that's similar, and the name just escapes me. Well, of course, there's Revit City, but that's not what I'm thinking of. That's the one I'm thinking of. Revit Works, that's it. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, so Revit Works has quite a few families. So you can just search. I mean, all I did there is search for Revit furniture and came up with a stack of them. just Revit furniture. So don't forget Revit City as well. So Revit City is probably the biggest site for user-made Revit families. So they have, 1,000 furniture pieces there in furniture, but then a lot of other folders as well that have families. And then Autodesk Seek. And you can either get to Autodesk Seek by Googling it, or within Revit, go to the Insert tab, and you'll see a search field built into the program. And so maybe there, I'll type in, see, Seek's not bad for furniture, but it's better for building components. And so that could be plumbing fixtures. And so there you can see I've got a shower tray, but now I want a shower head and some other plumbing fittings to go with it. So in Autodesk Seek up here in that field, I'm just going to type shower, press enter, and if you're going to do this in here, just make sure you've got a browser already open. So open up Internet Explorer and log in first, and then once it's got a page open, then do a search in here and it will open up your browser straight away, like it has for me there. Okay, so then scrolling through this list here, you can see we've got 665 different shower families. Here, please. Okay, so just scrolling through there, lots of them are shower trays. I've already got a shower tray, I don't need that, but you can see here got a fairly detailed shower head and all the other fittings that go with it. So I'm just going to click on the RFA link there, again RFA being Revit Family. And then tick the one I want. Sometimes you've got to use a bit of trial and error to work out which one is best, but I'll choose this one here. And then up the top, make sure it's on Save Selected to Local, and then click Download. And have a look down the bottom to see the format. If it's an RFA file down there that's being downloaded, you can just go straight to Open. You don't need to save it first. So that can save you some time. If you're saving each one and then opening it, it's double handling. But if you just click on the Open button, it'll open it straight into Revit. You might get an option to upgrade the model, but that's fine. Okay, so don't worry if you get a message like this, just click OK. So it's still loading, but there it is, it's finished loading now. So it's opened my file once it's downloaded, and then you can just straight away click Load into Project, tick the file you're working in, click OK. And then I'm going to place it over my existing shower. Now, I don't need two showers showing in the plan view, so I'm going to hide this one in the view by right-clicking and choosing Hide in View. But now in my, oops, let's get rid of that. in my 3D view, I've got a fairly detailed shower. So that's a really useful thing to have. And okay, so that'll come up in your perspectives and everything else. So that's an easy thing to get from a site like Seek. But then you'll find some of the furniture won't come up in that format in Revit Family or RFA. So just search for 3D furniture, or you can go to different manufacturers' websites and see what you can find. So I'm going to get some different pieces. I've got a few here that I'll show you as well, but just maybe to show you some different ways of getting things. So let's close some of these pages. Okay, so this one's a new one, but it looks pretty good. And this is a paid one, so watch out for these. They have some really good things, but you shouldn't have to pay for most of the things you're doing. You'll find it free. And this is another paid one. So if you get lots of paid ones coming up, try free 3D furniture. So some of these are new, some of them have been around for ages, like Archive 3D has been around forever. Got a few too many pages open. Okay, so maybe this one here. Oh, that's another. God, they're saying that they're free. Here we go, free. That's what we want. We'll come back to that one. We should be able to make it give us free ones, but it doesn't seem to want to. Oh, here we go, free. That's better. This is CG Trader. Yeah. And so this has Max, OBJ and FBX, which are three standard 3D formats. So I'm just looking for one that's going to work with this place. Maybe, yeah, that one looks okay. Okay, so I'm going to just go and download that, and we've got to log in, so let's do that. While that's happening, I'll quickly show you Archive 3D is one of the biggest 3D resources going around. Was mainly set up for a program called ArchiCAD, so most of it is not in the format you need for Revit. But again, you can easily convert it, and that's what I'm going to show you. So what do I want? Maybe, yeah, beds. Oh, now sorry, I'm going to the images here. I thought they were categories, but you've got the categories over there. So under furnishings, we've got, say, beds and whatever, scaps, no idea, daybed or something maybe. And so there we've gone to that category, and then down the bottom you'll see the number of pages. So there are 95 pages in this category, and you just need to keep browsing through. So I'm just going to try and get a fairly clean looking bed. Okay, so maybe this. No, that's not as clean as I thought. Yep, that'll do. Okay, so got my bed there, and I'm going to download that one. And then you'll have an option here, just go OK, download, and there we go. So that's downloaded a zip file. So that one I'm going to save. So you need to keep an eye on the format that you're given when you go to get these files. Do you want to know what a zip file is? Well, anyone know what a zip file is? Exactly, it's just a compressed file, usually with several files in it. So I'm going to download that to the, I've got a folder called 3D Models in the Interior Design folder there, and I'll just download it there. So now that's happening. Hopefully my registration has gone through. Not yet. Maybe it doesn't like my password. Anyhow, we'll let that go. And let's have a look at some of these others. So 3dmodelfree.com, that's another one that's been around for a while. And again, you can just search by category. So maybe we'll see if they've got some chairs there. Hoping to get some OBJs, because I've got all the other formats to show you, but I don't have many OBJs here. If you want to give me one, yeah, in the V drive, yeah, I'll grab it from there in a sec. Okay, so here my my file is downloaded. Oh, in the V, you can't save onto the P, so yeah, so just put it in at the top level in the class folder on V, and I'll get it. Yeah. So annoying. Everything goes very slowly once I'm doing all these things on the network, so let's just go this way. Okay, so there's my file downloaded now, and when a zip file is downloaded on these computers, because we've got WinZip installed, you can just right click on the file and then go to the WinZip option and then choose what you want to do there. And so normally a good option is to extract it to a folder with the same name as the file. And that's what I'm going to do. So just remember, you won't always have WinZip. On Windows now you can open zip files natively. So Windows will open zip files without a program like WinZip, but it works a bit differently. So just be aware of that. If you're looking for a program that you don't have to pay for, because WinZip these days costs money, WinRAR is another one that is basically free. We can still get a demo version that does everything you need it to. So it's just Win and then letter RAR, and that is a really useful program. Okay, so here we are. So this file has two 3D formats there, 3ds and GSM. Okay, so I'll show you how to get those into Revit in a second. I'll go and grab that OBJ file. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, great. Okay, so I'll just put this here. And then let's see if it's ever going to finish my registration. Terrible. Okay, so that'll do. I've got enough. Okay, so the key to getting it to work in Revit is to use AutoCAD. You can sometimes insert them directly into Revit, but usually not. Usually it's too difficult. So I'll show you a couple of tricks though before I get into AutoCAD. The first thing is when you bring it into Revit, no matter how you're going to do it, bring it into a different file. So don't try and insert it straight into your project file. That's where most people go wrong. So very rarely is going to work properly if you do it like that. So make a new file for your furniture or whatever you're trying to import and make it a family. So if you go to the main menu and then choose New, Family. That's the first step. No matter which way you're going to do it, you have to do this. And then for most of your furniture pieces, you can use the metric furniture template. So you can see here we've got a big long list of different template files, which are all there to help you. They just have different settings. But for this, again, metric furniture, so not metric furniture system, but the one next to it, metric furniture, which will look like that. Now, when you go to the Insert tab, then you've got the option to import CAD. So if you click there, you'll see then which file formats you can import. Okay, so DWG, DXF, has anyone seen DXF? Yeah. Yep? No? Okay, it's just another AutoCAD format. So when you're working in AutoCAD, you might have seen that one. DGN, anyone heard of DGN? That's the MicroStation format. SAT, that's a solid format. I think SolidWorks uses it, but AutoCAD can create them as well. And then SKP, I'm sure a lot of you have seen that. I know some of you have, because that's the SketchUp format. So if you've used SketchUp, you've been saving as SKP. So you can import all those files. Right, so I'm going to go to the bottom option, All Supported Formats. And that way I'll see any of those. And so again, in the Interior Design folder, I've got this folder, 3D Models. And then we can see there, I've got a few different files. I actually thought I had some SketchUp files there. But no, I've got some DWG files. Okay, so I'll bring in one of these DWG files. So 3D Rack is a file that's been made in AutoCAD, and I can just bring that one in straight away.
I've heard of the north of
So, what is it?
the
No?
Yeah, really,
Format?
yeah.
Alright, what's it for?
I don't know.
No, yeah.
The big funny stuff.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah. Okay, so they normally won't take quite this long to import, but again, my computer's doing things through the network and it's a bit slow. So I'll give that a minute. And while that's happening, yeah, yep. So, yeah, I was just recording, but it won't be long. Okay, so I've got AutoCAD open, and I'm going to make a new file. So do you remember when using AutoCAD what you should do to make a new file? Which template? No, AutoCAD ISO. Yeah, I know, that's a common mistake. So ACAD.dwt is set up for imperial and for a little bit for metric, but mostly for imperial, feet and inches. And that's where lots of people have trouble. They'll get all these imperial things coming in, and like imperial scales, feet and inches, scales. And you've got the option there to switch over to metric, but it's a lot more work than using the ACAD ISO. ISO means International Standards Organisation, so that's metric. Yeah, makes life much easier. So I've got a new blank file in AutoCAD set up for metric, ready to go. Let's go back to Revit, and you can see now it's imported my furniture piece. You can look at that in 3D. Okay, so that is looking the way it should, but how do we know how big it is? No, we don't. We have to measure and work it out. So back in the plan view, I'm going to use the tape measure and measure across there. So that is 1176, so a little bit over a metre. That sounds about right for something like this. It's meant to be a reception unit or something like that. If I go into my front view, right click and then choose zoom to fit, then I can measure from the ground to the top of that unit, 774. That is again about right. This one's 879, again not far off. Okay, you'll know if it's the wrong size because it will be out by a factor of 10 or something like that. It'll be quite a way out. So that's the first thing you should check. Make sure it's the right size before you go in and set up the rest of it, otherwise you're just wasting your time. And then you need to put materials on, and this is where most people have trouble. And so there you can see it's all the same material, it's all that grey. So I need to go now to the Manage tab and then Object Styles. So this is how you set materials for things that have been imported. You don't do it the same way as things that have been made in Revit. So you just need to remember that. Manage, Object Styles, and then when this dialog box comes up, go to Imported Objects, and you'll see the layers that have been made in AutoCAD. Okay, so then here so I've got cabinet. Going to hit Browse. And I'm going to get a new material from the library. So in my wood folder, I'll find a timber. Okay. Okay. There we go. How much better is that? Once it's got a texture on. Now it's not mapping all that well, but still better than nothing. Okay, so it's stretching out in unusual ways. That's all to do with the way it's been modelled, and I'm not going to go into that. But again, still better than it was. So again, back to Object Styles now, and this time, again, on Imported Objects, I'll go to Bench and Browse, and let's get another new material. That'll do. And now the top changes. Okay, so finally, same thing for the legs. There we go. Okay, so that's ready to go into a project now. So it's got to go to Save As, Family, and I'll save that into the Revit Library folder so you can get to it. And then if I wanted to bring that into our project file, I could do that, but I don't want that one in that house, so I won't bring it in. I just want to do that first before I show you what you need to do in AutoCAD, because it might seem a bit strange otherwise why we're doing all this stuff in AutoCAD. So we've got then, again with my blank file in AutoCAD, the option to insert or import different formats. And so here, it's just like Revit. You can go to the Insert tab, and then this time just go to Import. There's no Import CAD, it's just Import. And it will wake up in a moment. Close some of these programs. Yeah, it's amazing. Computers with, you know, a 20th or a 100th of processing power of these computers 15, 20 years ago when I started using them were faster in many ways. Yeah. All this bloated stuff they put in there, these flashing lights and little, you know, transparent things, and make things so much slower. So anyhow, if we go then to the file, and yeah, okay, so here you've got to make sure you've got the format that you need. Okay, so notice how there we can see again a list of formats, but we can bring in a lot more than was possible with Revit. So any formats you can see there that you've been trying to get that weren't in the list in Revit? 3ds, that's the big one, definitely. Yeah. So 3ds is the old 3D Studio format, and so 3D Studio Max uses a different format now, but 3ds is still like a standard format for 3D. So you can bring those straight into Revit, into AutoCAD. FBX is another very commonly used one that, funnily enough, Revit can export, but it can't import. Okay, but 3ds is the one I'm going to show you. Okay, so I've got a 3ds file there, or I've got the bed that I just downloaded, so why not do that one? So I'm going to do the bed. So if you have 3ds, then this is the way to bring it in. So notice it gives you a list of all the objects in that file on the left there. So generally you can just click Add All. And so before you do that, not a bad idea to change the Save to Layers option to By Material. And that way you'll have a chance of the layers already being done for you. It's not guaranteed though. So again, I'm just going to click Add All, and it will add everything in the list on the left to the list on the right. Click OK. And I'll let it think for a little while. While that's happening, I'm going to open another program. Okay, so it's brought it in, and so I'm going to double click with the wheel so it then zooms to find everything that's just been imported. Because that's a big piece of geometry, it's really slowing my computer down. You can see there it's almost frozen. It's still going there, so it'll wake up in a second. There we are. And just to give you a tip there, if you want to avoid that, try not to put your cursor over the object. You'll see once I go over that geometry, it's going to try and preview it, and that'll slow me down. So I'm just going to keep away from that. And then you can orbit the same as in Revit, shift and the middle mouse button. And then I can see what the object looks like in 3D. So it looks okay. So now I'm going to go to the little cog button on your tray at the bottom, or your status bar, click on the arrow next to it, and that'll let me change to 3D Basics, so I can get some 3D options in AutoCAD. So if you don't know, AutoCAD is a better 3D modeler than Revit. I know at first that might not seem obvious because Revit does 3D automatically and AutoCAD doesn't. But remember, AutoCAD can do more geometry than Revit can. Alright, so here all I'm going to do is change the display there to shaded with edges, so I can see this object shaded and get an idea how it's going to render. Now obviously it's all red, right? So I'm going to select the whole thing with a window, right click, and then go to Properties. And you'll see that these things are what's called a polyface mesh. So that's a 3D mesh, in other words. And notice the colour there is set to red. What's your normal option for colours in AutoCAD? Do you remember? Okay, so if you haven't done it for a while, that should be by layer most of the time in AutoCAD. So that way it sets the colours based on the layer. Might take a minute to update it, but there we go. I can close Properties now, press Escape, and they've all changed colour. And so now, just going to move that over to one side. Okay, so now I can go into Layers, Layer Properties. Very slow, I know, but that's life with 3D. And okay, so we can see there that I chose the option to import by material, but it's only given me one layer for all those materials. So I need to go then and select each object and assign them all to different layers. Okay, so if you get a model like this, you can do that. I'm going to open up a different file because this one's just too slow. Yeah. Okay, so here's one I did earlier, which has already got the layers done. Alright, so just to show you the setup there, you can select any of these objects. Maybe I'll do the legs, and then assign them to a separate layer for each material. So in this sofa, I only need two materials. So I just need two layers. But you essentially need a layer for each material. If you have a different material in your family or in your file, you need to make a layer for it. So that's how you have to set up your AutoCAD file, so that you can then assign materials to the layers in Revit. If you don't have a layer, you can't assign a material to it. So I've done that with this file. So I've just got two layers. It might only be two, it might even be one if it's a a lounge chair or something like that, it could be all just one fabric material or a leather material, something like that. So that's done. So I'm going to make sure that file saved as a drawing file. And then in Revit, again, make a new family using metric furniture. Insert, import CAD, find the file, and then remember I was saying sometimes the size won't be right. This is the main option you need to check if you realise the size isn't right. So check your import units, and generally you can set it to millimetres, especially if you know that you've been working with those units in AutoCAD. So most of the world is on the metric system these days, but unfortunately America and, believe it or not, England, UK, they're meant to be metric, but a lot of the stuff there is still imperial, and so you've got to check that. I know my cousin who is a designer in London still is adamant that that imperial is better, and he uses that. He's worked on a lot of big stuff, and refuses to switch over to metric, which drives me mad. So anyhow, so I've forced that to be millimetres. Now I'm going to measure it, and we can see it's wrong. Okay, so let's go back and look in AutoCAD and see what the problem is. So like I said, quite often you can just set that, but let's go and have a look in this file. Right, so I was assuming, which is something you commonly do with AutoCAD, that was in millimetres, but now I know that it's not. So I'm going to go back to, so let's just go back to normal workspace and measure. Okay, so measuring across here, how long should a lounge like this be, do you think? Yeah, I'd say at least 2, yeah, probably close to 3. So it's 143 units across at the moment in AutoCAD. So that gives us an indication it's not millimetres. Like I said, you can often assume it's millimetres. 90% of the world is on, more than 90% is on metric now, thank God. But again, so if we measure this way, okay, so how high should a seat be? Yeah, something like that, a bit lower, but yeah, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so again, measuring to the top of that seat there, down to the ground, 38 mil, or 38 units. So let's divide that. So, so let's say 500 should be about what it is, divided by 38, and we get a funny old measurement, 13 point something. So maybe we can assume there if it's 38. Again, this is trying to get you to think about this, because when you start sourcing your own resources, you've got to get the size right yourself. You won't have people doing it for you. And this is what every designer does every day when they're working. You're constantly scaling things and getting an idea of the proportions and the scale factor you need to use to get it to be the right size. So what units do you think that could be? If it's 38 units, it could be inches, but okay, so how many millimetres to an inch? Yeah, okay. Not far off, 25.4. Yeah, so that's a number you should all remember. 25.4 is the number of millimetres to an inch, and that's the main scale factor you use, because, like I said, America UK sometimes going to give you files in inches, and America especially have probably more 3D resources than anyone else, probably the rest of the world put together. So you get a lot of the stuff you download in inches. So let's work it out. 25.4 times 38 gives us 965. Right, so that's up here. So for giants, that might be a good lounge chair height, but it's probably not right. So, so what else could it be? If it's not inches, it's not millimetres, we know that. Centimetres, that's right. And a lot of Europe uses centimetres. A lot of the 3D guys in Europe, it's just what was decided about 15 years ago by a lot of them. They thought centimetres were a good unit fit for things like furniture and architectural design, because it was not far off an inch and closer to an inch than a millimetre. So a lot of the 3D guys there decided centimetres would be good. They've given up on that from what I know, but still a lot of the stuff is still in centimetres. So so that's often what you'll find. Okay, so now we know that in Revit. So let's fix it. So to fix it, you need to import the object again. So I've deleted it. Back to Insert, Import CAD. And again, I'm going to choose the file. And then change the import units. Instead of millimetres, which like I said is often going to be right, so that's the one I would try first. I'm going to try centimetres. Open. And now in Revit, I'll measure that. Okay, so measuring down, there we are. So 380, for a chair like this, that would be, I'd assume that's right. Okay, so there we are. So now I'm going to, again, save as, family, and I'll save it into the Revit library for you so you can get to this file if you want it. Where will I save it? In chairs. I actually have done this one previously, but I'll save it again. Okay, so then just like any other family in Revit, load family and oops, sorry, not load family, load into project. Okay, there we are, and I can tell visually that's right. So it takes a bit of setting up, but once you get it working, then it works pretty well. But you can probably tell, having seen me go through all of that, that if you can find it in Revit format, then it's probably much easier. So just to maybe give you an idea of the difference in the process. Oh yeah, sure. So I'd just probably come over. You mean? Yeah. I'll just be like, yeah. Alright, so there we are. Once you've got it in Revit format, you can be sure the size is right usually as well. Scaling won't be an issue, and well, obviously it's much faster. Also, the graphics will be easier to work with because, again, it's been set up in Revit, whereas the other one may look better when it's rendered because it has all of that detail. No, this is one that I just got from the Herman Miller site, and so I'm just looking for the. Here we go. That's the blue one. So see how it's got all these lines in it. Right, that's because it's coming from AutoCAD. Yeah. It can look really good when it's rendered, but you've got to think about how you're going to deal with those lines in the other views. So there was one other little thing. Oh yeah, so the door. So I'll just quickly show you how to get the doors to work as well, because if you remember at the beginning, we did the curtain wall there pretty roughly, and also the floor and the balcony. So I'll just quickly do those things, and then I'll come out and have a look at any problems you've got, and hopefully done enough on Photoshop already, I think, but we'll see. So you can see there my walls are actually moved, so I'll bring them back. Okay, so I'm just selecting those curtain walls and making sure I've disallowed the join at all the ends. And then just going to use the arrow key to nudge them into position, and maybe actually I'll use the move button so that I can pick them up and place them right on the edge of my floor there. And this wall I'll do the same thing, so just with the move button, again place them right on the edge there. And then this balcony floor, I'm just going to edit the boundary so that I can put the edge of it on the inside of that wall. Right, so that will mean that in my section view, the floors connect, and I'll just move that section so that you can see the curtain wall sits above and what I might do is just change those floors to be the same for now, and so I've just forgotten the name of it, concrete wood finish. There we are. And then later I'll change that to a different material, but I'm sure you can all do that. So again, the first thing is just to get them all in position. And the next part's fairly easy once you know how. So I'm just going to get a view where I can see those curtain walls. And then just quickly find an image of the sliding doors. Okay, so there we are. So here you've actually got what looks like a fixed panel. Does anyone know if that's... They've shown a door, have they? There. Is that... Yeah, looks fixed there, but... yeah, so there's a door over here, definitely, that you can see that. Yeah. Yeah, so I'll do it on that side. The other side... Yeah. That's... Yeah, yeah. So you can do that exactly the same way as we've done the ones on the upper level. Now, I don't know if I showed you how to load in... Did I show you how to load in door panels into a curtain wall? I think I did, near the entry. I did. So you should all be able to do that. So, okay, so I'll skip that. So you can do the door panel there the same way we did the entry door on the other side. So this door here, exactly the same on this side. But the sliding door is a bit different because you won't find a family for that sliding door. So I just want to show you a little trick you can use to get that. So I'm going to put in a couple of grid lines either side of where I want that sliding door to go. Okay, so there it is. And we can change that opening there to an exact measurement if you want that. Then I'm going to select the mullion at the bottom, unpin it, and then delete it. And then I'm going to use Tab to select that panel of glass that's left there in the middle and change that in properties to, oh, they don't have none loaded. What are we going to do? I don't want to show you how to load in an empty panel. Okay, I'm going to show you what you shouldn't do normally, but we're going to do it here. Oh no, so it won't let us even delete it. No, we have to load it in. Okay, so I'm going to go to Edit Type, and then so this is very annoying. Okay, so then yeah, we'll definitely have to load it in. So I'm going to go to Load, click More Panels, and then you should see a file called Empty Panel. So that's it. Once we click OK, then that will be empty. So always try to do that. I was going to say sometimes you can delete them, but it's not recommended anyway. So I've essentially just cleared that panel in the curtain wall, and then you could either put in a another curtain wall and make it look like the door, or you can get a door family. So I'm going to show you one. Well, actually, I'm going to open one that I've made, and I'm going to change it a little bit. So it is sorry, 2 meters, isn't it, that it's got to be? So a bit longer. 2050. Okay, so try to remember this family. It's a really useful one that I've made that you can easily find on the P drive in the Doors folder in Revit Library, and it's called Frameless Folding Door Panel. Now, it's not quite frameless because it does have a style. In other words, that framing piece at the top and the bottom, which you normally need even if it's in a frameless system, because if it's a door panel and it's got to move, you can't just have a sheet of glass without any support. Okay, but I'm going to make it a bit longer because we need it to be 2 meters. Uh, 2050. And then I'll put in a piece on either side for you as well. Okay, so this is generally what you need to do. If you have an unusual construction like that, you need to make your own families. I'll just get that glass back now. Right, so this obviously isn't frameless anymore, so I'm going to save this with a new name. It's not right. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to save that as framed door panel, might do. Okay, so you just need to remember that name, framed door panel, and you can load it in, and the advantage of using this family is that you don't need a wall to place it in. If you try and use one of the other door families, you'll find that you need to have a wall to cut the door out of, and that won't work in this situation, so you'll need to use a family like this one. So just try to remember that name, framed door panel. Now with loading the project, you see I can just place that over here, and we can see, well, that doesn't work with the grid placement that we have, but it's easier then to just modify that. There we go. Now the height there. Okay, so the height there is set up for a different file, so you need to set the height to match. Well, I'll set the height for you. So unconnected height 3950 is not right. That can't be right. Two 550. Okay, so luckily setting the height won't take all that long. So then you can just load that in. Okay, so the material you can do in the type properties. If you go to edit type, then you can set the material, because it's painted timber, not metal. So you'll need to change that. Okay, so there we are. So that sliding door can be moved along if you want to show that in different opening positions. You can just pick it up and move it. Okay, so that easy. And so it's just another kind of family, but again, hopefully that's going to get you familiar with making families in separate files. And you can obviously do a lot of modelling and other things there in Revit, but quite often you use them to set up things that you import from other programs and other formats. Oh, sorry, yeah, I forgot the OBJ, so that's just the same. So, so I meant to do that in Max, which was opening, but I'm just waiting for it to, sorry, I was waiting for that to open. It should have. Here we go. It's crashed. So I meant to show that. Okay, so 3ds Max, yep. Okay, so I think it's just opened up for a second time. So 3ds Max is one of those programs you can get for free on the Autodesk site, on the student site, and then we've got normal computers in here as well. So it's a fairly advanced program, but if you're just using it to open and export, it's pretty simple. Yeah. Okay, so it's again just being a bit slow on the open, so it's a shame. It is pretty much, yeah, but there's one thing that's not all that obvious, that's the only thing. You essentially just import, and it's on the main menu. You can go to import, and then it can import virtually any 3D format. And so I'll be sure OBJ is there. In fact, I know it is because I've done OBJ on there before. And then when you export, you sometimes need to use a bit of trial and error to get the right format, but DWG normally is the best option. And then scaling can be a problem as well. But if you I just can't remember if I did it with the other one. We do it in CAD 3, and actually I might have one from CAD 3. Let's see. Okay. So as I said, I'm meant to go through more Photoshop today, but we've still got next week. And look, Photoshop isn't a requirement for this subject. I just like to show it in the decoration classes, especially because you do need it more than in some of the other classes, and for your design projects. It's handy. So slow. So, oh, today. It'll be there later on today. Yeah, oh look, they'll all be there today. Yep. 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 If you want to get a copy of it now, it's already on the P drive. Yep. Yeah, no, that's going to still going. I'm still recording now. Oh, this is so slow. Yeah, it's nearly done. Sorry, it's just this max. Oh, yeah, sure. Yep, sure. Yep, it's nearly done. This is just ridiculously slow, but so if you don't know, we're getting new computers over the holidays.
Are we?
Yep, proper workstations. I mean, these are no, they'll go to high schools. Yeah.
You're not in students in need. They go to the high school where they can get.
Well, yeah, they're probably better than most high schools get, but
All my house.
yeah, yeah, they're not bad.
It's not about paying for everyone to get a free computer. No, I would pay for them to a charity or something. But like it's way cheaper than like going to go to charity.
Oh, right, yeah. No, they're a bit better than that. I mean, they are workstations. They're just not good workstations. Yeah, I'll just give them a... Yeah, it's not as good as... remember they gave the free computers to every student, every high school student about 3 or 4 years ago? So if you're one of the luckiest, for about 2 or 3 years, every single student got a pretty good laptop. Yeah, every single student in the country, yeah. It was a really good, there was another Kevin Rudd special. And, why they knifed him, I mean, that's just amazing, you know. But, yeah, he did a lot of good things like that. And, yeah, ambitious people, unfortunately. So, anyhow, the Max looks like it's frozen. There is an option I wanted to show you there because it can be a bit fiddly, but just try it with a blank file. The import option's on the main menu, so just choose the most basic blank file you can to make your new file, and then it's import, not xref or anything like that. Just choose import, choose the file format you want, and then again choose export on the main menu, and yeah, and export to DWG, and here it is. Now it's working. Okay, so just a very quick one. So I'm going to close this. I'm not even going to choose an option there. Just going to close this, and that will start with a blank file. Then main menu, go to import, and then import, not another option. So just import, and then find the file. So there it is. And then you need to click all there just to make sure they're all ticked, and that should bring them in. All these dialog boxes are different, but I think that's right. If you get an error, usually you can just close that, and there we are. So that's got the 3D model. Max is designed to work with 3D things, so it won't be as painful as AutoCAD. But you're just using it to get it from here into AutoCAD anyway, so it's going to go from here, export again, and then AutoCAD DWG. You're not DXF, sorry, DWG. Choose where you want it to go. Network. And 3D, whatever, sofa. That's it, and then it's the same as what we did before, getting it from AutoCAD into Revit. Oh, yep, sure, I'll just give you a minute. Yeah, so a bit longer than I was hoping, but that's alright. And so next week, I'll just try and stick to Photoshop and not do a lot of other Revit stuff. But we might need to do a little bit with the view setups, that's all, just graphics. So even though we've got the final week when you hand in, I don't want to be doing anything new then. So next week should be the last chance to do anything new.